On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
I flew out of the parking lot that day, 65 miles an hour, kind of a little bit of Tokyo drift leaving the parking lot. And my business partner called me like, "Are you all right?" That was totally uncalled for. My lead sales guy the next morning was really upset with me. He queued me up like, "You care so much about the reputation of our company.
Right.
What if you did kill somebody leaving your own parking lot?"
Yeah, big deal.
Like he called me out straight up.
What's up, everybody? I'm Chaz Wolfe, Gathering the Kings podcast. We're coming back to you here today with another king on the stage, my brother Jeff Giagnocavo. How we doing?
Doing good, man. You nailed the last name. Love when my folks I'm with can get it right.
I had to have you say it 3 or 4 times, but then I just memorized it like I did in high school, just input, output, just immediately.
That's right.
It's I passed all my classes, But you said there's a unique name in Ellis Island. I was just there and at Ellis Island just a couple months ago with my family. Tell us the background of the name here real quick.
Yeah, so the Giagnocavo family name, as it was originally spelled in the old country from Capilbasso, northern Italy, didn't have that second G in there. And it was just one of those Ellis Island.
Yeah.
We don't, obviously we don't know the heart and mind of the officer at the time in front of my great grandfather. But either that second G got put in there on accident, got put in there on purpose, the speed of the moment, whatever. My one uncle actually researched it. We found the original docket of emigrating into Ellis Island, my grandfather. So it's right there in the ledger. That second G's in there. And then the documents from the old country, it's Giagnocavo, which makes a whole lot more sense, right? If you just take that second G out of there, right?
Yeah, it is pretty crazy how that happened. When I met my dad, I didn't know him growing up, 24 years old. I started chatting with his dad, my grandfather, and he's got papers from his great grandfather. So 5 up from me. He's in the Civil War, and they got enlistment papers, a packet of enlistment papers. And in this one packet, Wolfe is spelled 5 different ways. Some with a U, some with an O, some with 2 F's, some with 1 F, some with no E. It was just like, wait a second, what? The same guy, the same enlistment papers. I don't even know. So here we are with crazy last name stories. But Jeff, tell us what kind of business that you have. I know you got several, so just kind of give us a lay of the land.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, I'm a consultant, and I have 2 businesses in which I co-own, but I sit specifically in that consulting seat for myself. So these businesses run, they run well. I don't have to be there each day. First one, the longest, is my retail mattress store, Gardner's Mattress and More. We've owned that, my business partner and I, Ben, for 12 years now. We're a 14-time favorite mattress store winner. We take the 5-star experience very, very seriously. We work to that each and every single day. It's ingrained in our mission to change the way our customers feel about mattress stores. And that guides everything we do. And so that's that business. The other one was kind of birthed out of the retail business. We created a CRM for ourselves. We Frankenstein Infusionsoft. It's now called Keep, but back in the day it was Infusionsoft.
Yeah.
And plugged in some other apps and developed some code and some other little zip-zorbs and doodads that make it all work the way we wanted.
Yeah.
And we discovered something pretty cool that, the problem with CRMs is they become this big digital Rolodex. And, you just end up taking a business card in your hand and entering it, and then it just sits as time goes along.
Sure.
And we created them for ourselves, and then for our industry, and then for others outside the industry, to where it really works the way you work in person with your prospects, with your leads, with your clients and customers. And all you have to do is go to a link. Every time you do something, you just further it by hitting enter. And you don't go into it. You don't need a username. You don't need a password. Because if you're an Infusionsoft OG, you remember that every 90 days you had to reset your password. And half the time, even though you typed it right, it still said it was wrong and it was a pain to recover.
I know a few other companies that are like that.
Mm-hmm. You're like, I know I'm typing this right.
Seriously.
Like even copy paste it in and it still would somehow get bounced back. And so we created it for the purpose of let's make this thing work the way people work.
Yeah.
And so fast forwarding that business, now we just kind of focus on licensing organizations and help them onboard new folks, keep them in line legally with what their agreements are. Really for those folks, it's about a mass level of, because when the inevitable, hey, you're a franchise is operating not as a franchise and this is a problem and I'm going to sue you, we have a whole database worth of communications that are like lined up to say, here's what's been communicated to you. It was obvious this wasn't franchising, this was licensing. And there's a big difference there.
Sure.
Sadly, a lot of people conflate the two.
Oh, yeah.
But so those are the two businesses I own. And then I consult to other businesses and do some group coaching. And now in my journey, I'm kind of looking to be kind of that speaker guy, helping to impact the world by creating healing for others.
Yeah, I love that. There's power in that word healing. Maybe we'll get to that. I know that you've got a little bit of a backstory in a book that just came out. I'm going to ask you a question that it might tie into some of those things, but my first question is always about the why. And I don't mean just like, give me the surface, like, what's your why, Jeff? I mean, like deep down, what's burning you today to do all of this, even be here today, even though you've had all the success?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, this might be a little atmospheric for people, a little woo-woo, but I'll frame this statement this way. If you're into health and fitness, you know that there's biohacking. You can hack your genetics and things like that. My genetics were, so if we believe that can happen and we know that that can happen, then the inverse, I believe, is also true. When two people come together, that they're carrying with them does get passed on to that child, right? And some people would refute that, but you can't then go create it on the back end with biohacking and fitness and not accept it on the other end. I think that's something people need to settle. And so
sure,
for me, what keeps me pushing forward is this kind of ingrained belief. And it took me a while to figure it out, that things are going to be taken away from me. And, my great grandfather on Ellis Island, as fun of a story as that is, the man behind the name wasn't a great man. This was a man who emigrated to the US and decided to be a bachelor, orphaning off 10 children, and divorcing my great grandmother, which in the Catholic faith, you could only do through insanity or adultery. And so he paid off a father in the church to commit my great grandmother. And so taken away, that was passed down through me. And, I saw that a little bit in my personal relationships at home and how some of that worked with parents who were working for others as employees. And so that belief that things can be taken away through no choice of your own, but this desire to create massive action, to create a foundation and solidify my position is really what drives me to create that foundation. And along with that, I'm leveling people up, bringing people with me, and through the store, we elevate people. One of my biggest success stories there is somebody that left our company. This was a guy who was a delivery guy, worked his way up to the sales floor. Now he's in management and rising in a company that does, printing and copier sales and print services and all kinds of stuff. If you can print it, they basically do it. And it's a big company, and we were able to give him that launching pad. I'm really proud of that.
Yeah.
So when I say we level up our humans, those are the kinds of things we do.
I love the human respect there, the just leveling up humans in general. Going back to a few things that you said there, it's interesting that, you'd maybe point out so that some listeners or maybe even some experts would refute that certain things can be passed down. And I think that there's two sides of this story. So I want to kind of open up this can of worms here and let's see where we can go with it. But we've got, obviously genetics that are passed down. That's hard to overcome because it's real. I told you already, which not many people know, but I did meet my dad when I was 24 and I didn't know him. He didn't even know I existed. And so when I met him, and the fact that we look alike and talk alike, have some of the same phrases, and it's just so weird, man. No environment whatsoever impact. However, DNA. Okay, fine. And then we're talking about environment, which is a lot of the pieces that, the environment that was created for your family, your ancestors through the generations were a product of some decisions. And so, yes, those both things can be passed down. I agree with you. But what I heard you say was that wasn't the end of the story for you, that you had to acknowledge it, grab a hold of it, and then now you're rewriting your own story. Or you said you're taking from here going forward, kind of saying, no, thank you, and moving on. So let's just open up that right there, because I think that we're in agreement here that, okay, fine, we've got some things passed down to us, our environment, our DNA, it's kind of our deck of cards that was dealt to us, but you're doing something with it, even though. Talk about that for a second.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all that said, I grew up Sunday dinner at my grandfather's house. So my grandfather was one of those 10 orphan children and was sent to an Amish farm at, I think it was 3 or 4.
Wow.
It basically was a child slave laborer. You know, that was the intention, and at least of the family that took him in. And he had an 8th grade education, ran away at 16, ended up finding his mother, my great grandmother, and was able to rescue her and then lived with her for a little while. Tragically, she passed in a fire in their home.
Oh.
And so I saw this tenacity to succeed. I saw this entrepreneurial spirit from my grandfather. I saw it with his sons, my uncles, and even my father, who had trucking businesses over the years. You know, interesting little fact about my grandfather. He's, you know, everybody has a laundry detergent bottle in their laundry room right now, probably. And that little pour spout out the top, that little molded pour spout.
Yeah.
That was my grandfather.
That's cool.
Now,
That's
had
a
he
pretty cool
not
legacy.
been so, well, it is. We didn't get no money for it because his stubbornness and his belief, when I frame all the story to this point, you can understand why a man would turn away. That one was Proctor and Gamble. There was another one, Johnson and Johnson, but P&G came and said, you know, look, we want to bring you in. We know you don't have this protected, but we want to do the right thing. Please join us. We like your mind. We like your innovations. We understand you're into all this other stuff. Please, we want you on board. Your sons will be brought along as they age into the company, et cetera. And he basically said, no, thank you. I can do it on my own. You know, and I wonder if that wasn't as much stubbornness as it was looking at what was around him.
Mm-hmm.
And he just couldn't trust anybody.
Yeah.
Because how could he?
Yeah. His map had been filled with turns along the way where he actually couldn't trust anybody. So yeah, his only option was subconsciously to do it on his own.
Right. Right. And so I saw that, and I've been trying to like test myself as I go through life now. Like, am I reliving that or am I not?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be that stubborn individual.
Yeah. Stubborn's a fun word because it can mean persist, right? We can be stubborn about certain things that we need to be stubborn about and press on. I just had a conversation with a guy a couple of days ago here on the pod that we talked about this exact thing. Cause it's like, you know, he's interviewed hundreds of successful entrepreneurs like I have. And he said, you know, we culminated a lot of our answers, a lot of the book recommendations, a lot of the answers, which we've done the same. It's kind of fun to look at the kind of like the stats, but it's like, you know, you have some people say that the number one reason for success is to, you know, be willing to pivot, you know, and be willing to be open-minded to the things that are around you. And then you have the other half that says to persist and don't give up and don't quit, you know, and don't ever that pivoting and quitting, you know, and staying are opposite, but yet both needed for success. And so this is interesting thinking about your grandfather. What do you think that he would say if he were on the show right now? Like if you just were to chime in, what do you think he would say?
Jeez, that's a fantastic question. He would probably argue all the reasons that he was right to have pushed away P&G.
Yeah. Do you think he'd be open-minded to what could have been?
I don't know. You know, I get a lot of the stories from secondhand through my father, through my uncles over the years. I mean, I knew him as a young boy through the age of like 13-ish or so. Then my parents got divorced and family kind of splintered. We also moved to the US from Canada where he was living. And so, yeah, you know, I think he would argue it. You know, this was a guy who would go to court endlessly over getting speeding tickets and argue for hours why this speeding ticket was unwarranted. Yeah. And it came to a point where the local police just didn't even bother. They're like, unless this guy runs somebody over right in front of our eyes,
just don't do it.
We're not even going to bother. It's just not worth our time.
The squeaky wheel gets the oil, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, but he loved his grandkids immensely. He was so proud of all of us. I know that. I see it in the pictures that I've seen over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a guy who had family ripped from him and then built a big family of his own. My aunts and uncles total 7 kids in all with my dad. And so he had a belief in family and he had a belief in legacy, but man, he wasn't equipped with the tools to really keep that together, unfortunately.
What do you think the takeaway, obviously for you as his grandson, but for the listener listening right now that that stubborn, but yet very entrepreneurial. Obviously, he was an inventor. He had ideas, which is all of us right now listening. What would you say our takeaway is?
Yeah, I think where I kind of wrapped up there about him not being equipped with the tools, right? We can get frustrated with employees, we can get frustrated with partners, we can get frustrated with vendors, people that are in our life for any reason. Step back from the emotion and ask yourself, does this person have the toolkit for this moment? And then as a leader, ask yourself, take another step back and ask, have I given them the tools? I think all of these problems come back to us as leaders and us as influences in our relationships, leaders in our relationships. Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves.
Yeah.
And, the ability to do so, I think, is powerful.
Okay. Well, let's take your on-ramp there. Let's talk about leadership for a second, because the listener's thinking, okay, well, so I got to be a good listener or a good leader so that I can, not make these same mistakes and not miss the opportunity for P&G or whatever. But leadership's a big topic. When you say I need to be a better leader, give us two things. Actually, I'd love to kind of split this up. I know you've got such podcast experience that you can handle two questions in one. What I want to know is a practical thing that you've done to become a good leader. But I also want to know, what do you think the on-ramp for someone listening right now? Is it the same thing that you're going to tell me, or is it what's their practical first step towards becoming a good leader?
Yeah, I think the becoming a good leader for me, and I had to learn this, and I had to learn it the hard way. We can get into a couple anecdotal stories, but is being vulnerable, right? And understanding that your idea doesn't have to be the idea.
That's right.
In fact, the people you should be bringing people around you to always arrive at the best idea.
Right.
And in creating an environment in which you get better and better and better ideas. I'm a big fan of Mad Men, the TV show that ran on AMC. I love advertising, and I actually collect old ads in print. And there's one moment in that show where Draper's getting pinned to the wall about the expense of papers and pencils. He's like, look, we run through paper to get to we go through bad ideas faster, so we get better and better good ideas quicker. Something to that effect. I butchered it, but that was the takeaway. And as a leader, that's what we got to do. We have to create these environments for the best idea to rise above, test it as fast as possible, fail it out as fast as possible. But ultimately, we hear fail faster often.
Right.
But as a leader, we got to get to winning fast as well.
Yeah.
If we're just failing fast constantly, we can learn some stuff, but man, that's a hamster wheel we need to exit pretty quickly. Right.
Yeah.
So look to create that exit to winning when you can as a leader, I would say. And then that vulnerability of saying, you know what, it doesn't have to be my idea. I can have these people win and win for us.
Yeah.
And allow them to take the credit.
Yeah. The vulnerability, I think you've tied these answers in well together. The vulnerability in your story plays into what you just gave to the listener, which is you have to create a collaborative environment to where, yes, we can have a lot of ideas and fail, but ideally we can vet things out and win. And I think that's the ultimate of every decision-making think tank session, is to have a bunch of stuff go up on the board, and then quickly we resolute at the one thing that we're going to move forward. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we tear it apart and move on to the next one, so all that's super practical. But in the midst of that, the person listening right now, and they're going, okay, vulnerable, I gotta let other people share. I got to fail fast, but I also got to win. So in your mind, what's the difference between failing fast, or opening up and having ideas and failing, testing, versus winning? Because you said you got to do both.
Right. Well, I think if anybody listening has owned a business or been in business for any amount of time, 6 months and beyond, I think you've had a point of, I can't believe I made that same mistake again.
Right.
Right. So that means you've created a path to fail faster, but you didn't create that path of, okay, where did I apply the practical knowledge of learning in that moment?
Yeah.
What is that parallel ramp? If we got a fail faster ramp and or lane, and we got a win faster lane, and they can converge and they can cross over, how ultimately does it become a super lane, 2 and 3 lanes of winning?
Yeah.
And a service road to fail faster, right? How do we change that versus being on the HOV high fast speed lane to fail, right?
Yeah.
how do we do that? And I see business owners all the time, like, man, that was a mistake I learned 20 years ago,
Right.
you know, sometimes through the context of, I've seen that a lot in the last 5 years, 10 years with, digital media. It's media. It's not marketing, it's media. And you can make the same mistakes that you did as a seasoned business owner that you made 20 years ago on radio and TV. You can make those same mistakes on Facebook and Instagram. It's not new. It's just a different media. And people who've understood, okay, well, I failed because I forgot to put a call to action in the ad on the radio commercial.
Right.
Well, I forgot to put a call to action on my YouTube ad or my Facebook ad. Right.
Yeah.
So they're like, that's why I made that same mistake. In other words, the crossroad, the thing that creates the divide and cements that winning lane is, what did I learn and how do I create a system to take that failing and shift it into winning?
Yeah. You did a beautiful job with that. It's the failing, not so that we just check it off the list and don't do it again, but it's like in detail. Yeah, that's part of it. Like, let's not do that again. But what does that actually look like to not do that again? What are the components of this failure? What did we learn from it? What should we do? What should we not do? And then there's implementation. And so I'm a big fan of this. You did an amazing job in that, but it's the time frame from failure or learning, as you just said.
Mm-hmm.
But it can only be considered learning if you do something about it. Otherwise, it is an actual failure. You just did it and you lost. Right. You're a loser.
Right.
But if you take the learning piece and you apply it and actually implement, so like zero out the time from failure to implementation, that now becomes lanes of winning. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
100%. And I'll give you a super tactical, drilled down example of this through my retail business. So I got a lot of good puns with the mattress store business. I like to say, I do business in your bedroom. We don't one night stand our customers, right? We get married to our customers. When you become a customer of ours, we're married for 4 months through our Comfort Guarantee program.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, just as in any marriage, you go into it eyes wide open, hopefully, and you have some rules and boundaries set. Like, we won't cheat on each other as one. That's typically a key core ingredient of a successful marriage, right?
Mm-hmm. I can see where this is going.
Right. And so with our Comfort Guarantee, the thing about mattresses is you typically keep them for a decade at a time. You build up muscle memory. It takes some time to get used to this new one, right? And we ask our customers, hey, we need you to try this for at least 60 days. If it's really, really terrible, let's have a conversation. But the goal is 60 days because it can take that long. You're unwinding just a tremendous amount of muscle memory. You're shifting from something old school to something new school. If we can have that understanding, we're going to have a great little marriage here for these next 4 months. And in doing that, and in working with customers, sometimes we identify what I call exceeding the level of expectation we can deliver on, AKA crazy. Okay. And so working with my team, I've said over the years, like, we have to identify these moments where the expectations that are being communicated to us, we're not hearing. We're not hearing because we want to make that sale.
That's right.
But the problem is, as ownership, I'm the one holding the financial fallout to this failed marriage in our comfort exchange.
That's right.
And so finally, as a leader, where it came down to it is, I said, listen, here's what I'm going to empower you to do on the sales floor. Work our process. We role play, we have our objections, all this stuff. We've worked through it all. If at the end of all of that process, you're still dealing with someone who their expectations just are not on with what we can deliver, you have permission to just suggest diplomatically that they're better served elsewhere. And I'll pay you for whatever you think they were going to land on. Because in the long run, that's going to be cheaper for me anyway.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you removed the possible greed, the wrong action, right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, and I can't fault our team is paid a mix of salary and commission.
Sure.
And the salary is there to keep you sane when it's a little slower.
Yeah.
Right. You're not popping bottles with salary. So with that said, the commission thing is not as much greed as it is, okay, this is where I do pay my bills. This is where I do get my fun
Sure.
money. This is where I do
Yeah.
get to go live my hobbies and everything. So I understand that. I understand that guys want to sell. Salespeople want to sell.
Absolutely.
And if the boss is putting a parameter on them where they can't sell, or there is no negative fallout for them for selling a bad deal
Right.
that they knew
Was a bad deal.
well, then how do I solve that? And so it just came down to saying, all right, I'm going to give you permission to walk this person and I'll pay you for it. Now, that might sound pretty bold. Some people hear that and say, my gosh, guys, that would kill my sales floor. I would kill my sales team.
Yeah.
We wouldn't do any business. I'd be on the hook to pay all these deals. I haven't had one happen.
Interesting. Why do you think that is?
Because it's, well, along with that, just deeper commitment and leadership from me.
Right.
To continue to reinforce our process.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, eventually, you even mentioned it through, you said muscle memory with your body, but it's subconscious. I've been laying in this bed and this is how I feel. So yes, it's muscle memory, but it's all ingrained in my brain. Mm-hmm. Or in my mind rather. And so the same thing for the sales guy, right? You've just slowly over the course of time convinced them that what's good for you is also good for them, which really is, we're just talking about ethics. And as a salesperson or a business owner, I don't want to sell something to someone, which even if it's a bed and they want a bed, but they have wrong expectations, I shouldn't sell that person. To your point, you're making this very clear right. That it's not good for anybody. They're going to be pissed just no matter what. And it's not going to be good for the business. The salesperson is going to get a claw back and have to give up commissions. And it's just a bad scenario for everybody. So I love what you did there as far as convincing them. But I want to point out to the listeners, like you trained, and that piece that you gave at the end there was you took the time, the effort as the leader, going back to leadership now, to not only just create an on-ramp for a solution, but then to actually like, okay, I'm going to build this human, back to some of your early comments, so that they operate like I would want to operate in this moment. Yep. And only selling when we need to.
Yeah. I mean, and to really put a nice little bow on it, as a leader, I was asking, why do we keep having these customers who are frustrating? And this goes back a number of years now, but it was a question. And then it was, okay, well, I see a failure in the process. I need to lead that better. I see a failure in understanding when we identify someone who has expectations that exceed what we know to be we can deliver on and have it be a 5-star experience. And then I see and understand the empathetic aspect that these people need to sell. They want to sell.
Yeah.
This is how they provide. And so it was putting the right tools in the toolkit.
Yeah.
Making sure they had the toolkit. So I had to stop asking the question, or I could stop asking the question, why does this keep happening?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, you gave a great job of kind of sharing that maybe small failure or something that was happening over and over again that you were able to make a good decision out of. I love the practicality of all that. Let's flip the coin to a bad decision to an hour in your business history. It was just bad. And I want to know the juicy details so that we don't have to do it ourselves. We can just learn from you.
Yeah. Yeah. So bad decision would be hitting 65 miles an hour, leaving the parking lot of the store.
Okay.
Because I was super pissed.
Okay. Emotions got the best of you.
Oh yeah. 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 I mean, I could have killed somebody coming out of the parking lot. Now it was late on a Labor Day Monday, so traffic wasn't exactly busy, but that's not an excuse. I could make that an excuse.
Sure.
But the long story short is there were communications that I was putting out about payroll and about our team understanding how sales are made, how the structure is done, where the profit lies, how they get paid, those impacts, because where we were going at the time was expansion. I wanted to make leaders out of these people.
Mm-hmm.
What I failed to understand is they didn't want that role. I was pushing them into it.
Okay. Give us some more.
And so when I find out that payroll was yet again processed without the report, the handwritten manual report done, I sound like the guy from Office Space with TPS reports, right?
Hey, reports are important.
Again, it was all intentional in that I want you to understand how we put money in the bank around here.
Yeah.
Problem was they weren't those people.
Hey, kings and queens, Chaz Wolfe. I want to talk to you about something that's super important to me. We put a lot of time and effort, we meaning myself and my team, into this podcast, into the content that goes out every single day. And if you have been getting any sort of value or insight from this, we want it to be able to reach other business owners too. So we would love if you would like, comment, share, leave a review, post, share again, all of the things on social media, on all the different platforms, or even on the podcast mediums of Apple and Spotify. We would love to be able to get our content into more hands, more entrepreneurs, so they can grow their business as quick as possible. Together, we are building a community of like-minded entrepreneurs who are committed to growing their businesses to new heights. So let's do this. Let's help each other. Let's help each other grow. Yeah. Okay, so how did you know that eventually, and what did you do to put the right people in place?
Yeah. So really it was atoning for my mistakes, reflecting, asking myself why did I react that way? And then just within that exercise, realizing, oh crap. Yeah, these guys aren't those people. They don't want that.
I'm pushing a wet noodle here.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. And yeah, so I flew out of the parking lot that day, 65 miles an hour, kind of a little bit of Tokyo drift leaving the parking lot. And my business partner called me like, are you all right? That was totally uncalled for. My lead sales guy the next morning was really upset with me for the fact that I could have hurt someone else. Plus he queued me up like, you care so much about the reputation of our company.
Right.
What if you did kill somebody leaving your own parking lot?
Yeah, big deal.
Like he called me out straight up.
Yeah.
So,
well, I like how that started with emotion and some thoughts, some decisions on your side, but how it led to you really realizing, or maybe dialing in, maybe is a better word, to what were you really frustrated with? Well, you were frustrated that you weren't getting reports, but that's just a symptom of the actual problem, right? The problem was that you didn't have the right people on the bus. And so, okay, so you go to work trying to replace folks, or you try to bring in A players. What were the next steps you took?
Yeah, I mean, so the reality is we ended up not expanding in the plans that we did. In hindsight, really, it was a good thing for what the last few years have been. And we just decided, let's get really, really good within the four walls that we occupy now. We decided, what if we took these four walls and could do the business that 4 or 5 good stores do within this one footprint?
Yeah.
Maximizing our operations, maximizing our people, maximizing our ad spend, not having to stress out over management of people, which is not something I enjoy doing, quite honestly.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm the idea guy. I'm the visionary guy. I'm not the manager. That's what my business partner does. And he's fantastic at it. And we complement each other well. And almost every time I get in the mix of that, I mess it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I just have learned to stay out, and vice versa for him. And so what we realized is we can be far more profitable, far more sane, have far more business owner freedom within our own four walls.
Yeah.
And what if we just answered the question of how do we get to the business of what 4 or 5 good stores do? And we've done that. And we do it our way. And it's a cool little business that runs and will always run.
Yeah.
Will always pay me.
Yeah.
And I'm only in that business 2 days a week, 6 hours or so on a Monday. Thursdays is kind of it's the day I'm at the business, but I can be there 2 hours. I can be there 8 hours, just depends on the need.
Yeah. Well, I love the systems that you've set up. I think if anything, you've just developed some courage, for the listener to know that it's possible to dial in. And I was just having a conversation with a smaller business owner this morning, one of our newer mastermind members, but we've just opened up for smaller business owners. And the challenges for that person, this sub $1 million business owner are always the same. They're very practical. They need coaching. They need like the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, which I know that you've probably dealt with plenty of your clients in the same way. But this particular client this morning was trying to come up with a plan on how to open up his third business. And I'm like, can we just, can we not for a second? And his response was, I just don't want to miss the opportunity. It's just such a great opportunity. And everything from my conversation this morning makes me think of what you just said, because back in the day when you were having those emotional push and speeding out of the parking lot is because you saw the opportunity for growth. You were being told that growth looked a certain way. Your ego was like, no, we got to go. And all these things are okay as entrepreneurs. Like I want to give the listener permission to be like, it's okay to want to grow. I love growth. In fact, I say it to myself every morning that I'm obsessed with growth in all areas. But what is growth? What does growth look like? And so for you, a new defined definition of that was, we're going to do what 4 or 5 stores do, combined into one footprint in these 4 walls. And we're just going to get darn good right here, which is in essence what I was trying to tell this guy this morning. I'm just like, look, man, you've got a couple of really good things going. Just focus.
Yeah.
Just focus.
Ryan says, don't work for the same dollar twice.
It's good.
And ultimately, I think that's where that third opportunity would go. The dollars from business 1 and 2 would fund the opportunity for 3.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's cool. And I've been there. I've done that.
Makes you feel like you're busy and doing something.
Right. So the problem is the eye can only focus on one thing at a time. And soon enough, the dollars from business 1 slow down.
Yeah.
And now it becomes a problem, and the dominoes fall, and they fall quick and hard. Yeah. There's opportunity everywhere. I mean, there's opportunity in Bitcoin. There's opportunity in Turo. There's opportunity in real estate. There's opportunity in a pizza shop. Okay. There is no shortage of opportunity. This FOMO that's been put into people, it's unethical. It's immoral. What you need to do is focus in on what you're doing. And to me, anybody that I work with, I say, unless you're putting 6 figures in your bank account in a paycheck, whether that's a once a year dividend, a W-2 26 times a year, and don't come at me, folks listening, about taxes and this, and like, everybody's got their own tax situation, their own reasons, whatever.
Yeah.
However you're getting paid, you should be getting paid at least 6 figures, should be pulling profit annually. And all of that should be happening without you having to be at the business.
That's right.
If you got to sell it, if you got to fulfill it, you got a job, not a business.
Yep.
And you got a job that has to worry about the rent, the payroll, the mortgage, all that stuff. Only then do you move on to other opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's opportunity because what you're doing right now, you're not 100% committed to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's easier from my experience as well. Cause I was telling this guy this morning the same thing. It's like, it's easier as entrepreneurs just to try the new thing, because starting something new, as scary as that sounds for entrepreneurs, it's actually easier. It's the easy ticket. It's the easy button just to go start something new, as opposed to focus and press in and build process like you're talking about, and actually make it to where it pays me and pays profit and pays my people. And we take good, I'm with the revenue you're doing now in that one location, I'm sure you have people that are very happy to work for you because you've been able to,
Yeah, we have a sales team of 3 full-time guys, 2 of them 6 figures.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of them knocking on the door.
Yeah. They're happy about it. Okay. So we've got this, shiny object syndrome that I'm sure a lot of listeners right now are going like, oh man, I either feel it, I felt it. What do you think the equation is for building a business like what you just said? Okay. Let's focus in on these 4 walls. If that's what the listener is doing right now from our conversation, going, okay, I'm not going to get distracted, Jeff. Okay, Chaz, I'm going to just dial in. What does that look like? What's the equation, do you think?
Yep. For me, like, I'm not going to be able to give you E squared plus C squared equals MC squared, right?
Right.
Mess that up. I just confused the theory of what is E equals MC squared.
Yeah, there you go. You said it right. There you go.
In some of my own stuff. Total brain lapse. But it's not that and the Pythagorean theorem, which I just tried to combine.
That's
right?
funny.
So I'm not going to be able to give you that. But here are some key things that I feel everybody needs to have. One is you've got to put your business in a position of magnetism and attraction.
That's right.
Okay. And this dovetails to part of what was in my childhood. So for me, I hate asking people for things.
Mm.
All right. There's a lot of pain behind that for me. So I'll do the business lesson. If we get time to the personal story, we'll get to it. But being in a position of magnetism and attraction, creating need, desire, and want through your marketing. That is the single biggest success ingredient, part of the equation I could share. We have always had it's now called a tripwire. This goes back to there's nothing new under the sun. TV advertising is the same as Facebook advertising. And I don't care what you say, you will never change my mind on that. There are all core tenets that exist if you want good campaigns anywhere. But so a tripwire, as it's called today, a lead magnet, as it's called today, I've called it a marketing asset, an educational asset. We've always had a book, a printed thing. And the people I consult with, we get that installed quickly,
good.
to create leads, to generate leads. Because the problem with so much of your advertising, so much of the message you're putting out today, there's only a single-digit percentage of people that are interested, hungry, ready to buy, wallet out, check halfway filled out. They just got to write the total. They've signed it. They got the date at the top. They got to put your business name and the total in.
That's right.
There's only so many people ready to do that at any given time. Right. And it's single digits most often. And so every dollar you spend speaks to 100%. So what are you doing in that advertising to get the person who's like, you know what, we're saving money for that home edition. I really like what this person has to say about these 7 pitfalls of renovating your kitchen and converting an open floor home plan. Let's get that. Renovating your kitchen, open home floor plan. That's very specific. Speaks to people that want to take their 1940s home that's all cut up like little matchboxes and open it up.
That's right. Speak to a large project.
You can have that. Yeah. Yeah. That's an $80,000, $100,000 project.
Yeah.
And you can create that piece very easily today. I mean, you can have that in AI. You can have the framework of that typed out. Now, go make it your own.
Right.
But there's so many tools to do things like that. So creating these assets to put yourself in a position of attraction and magnetism that showcase you're the expert, you're the authority. We've taken these, just to show you, this is our attraction toolkit. I realize I knocked one of the other pieces on the floor before I start, so I won't leave. But these are just three of the 5 that we use.
Yeah, love that.
One general sleep better book about sleep routine, sleep habits, sleep hygiene.
Wow.
Tremendous lead magnet. Our book buyers buy.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to buy a book and read about sleep, I'm interested in buying. I'm a real buyer.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
The people that get our book. So our average ticket's $1,600 all in. So this is somebody that buys our most expensive package at like 13, 14 grand on down to somebody that buys a bed frame. So that's that ticket. Master bedroom ticket's about 3,700. People that get our book is about 4,200. So the on paper guidance would be do every ounce of marketing, every effort to get people to buy the book.
Right.
Because you'll raise your ticket about 20%.
Yeah, but that's scary, Jeff, because if I'm promoting the book, I don't get, someone who's actually interested in buying a mattress. They're interested in sleep education. Jeff, that's scary.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it is, right? And so you blend.
Right.
Okay. But I put that out there to get people I work with to think.
Yeah.
I had a 50 store chain we put our CRM into way back. This goes back like 2015, 2014. We put the CRM into, we custom labeled and private licensed the mattress buying guide for them. And we quickly realized that the prospects that got the guide at the store level came back and bought 25% higher than their average ticket.
Wow.
And so I just put that out there as a challenge statement. I'm like, if you do nothing else but corral everybody to go through those steps, handing out a guide costs you like $3.
Right.
Against a 25% lift on a $1,200 ticket.
That's right.
$1,600.
That's right.
That's massive. And so, no, we're not going to do that because we take away the people that are in front of us ready to put cash in our hand today. But how can we answer that question in other ways? How can we create those other moments of attraction, magnetism, put them through a system to gestate, to become our customer? The other thing I'll give your listeners is the more time people give you, the more invested they are with you.
That's right.
We often hear time's our most valuable commodity, right? I would imagine if you could search all podcasts out there and put time in, 80% of podcasts would come back with the word time being hit on at least 3 times in a show.
Sure.
Right. And so if time's our most valuable commodity and people are giving it to us before walking in, picking up a phone, booking an appointment, that's valuable. So how does your marketing, how does your advertising, how does your process respect that? Well, really putting that moat around that prospect to become your customer. That is completely doable, completely possible to put into the mix. I would contend easier to put into a mix at a company sub $1 million than a company doing $3, $4, $5 million. Because you've got a process that's led to that point.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to break away from what's worked. But
yeah.
It can be done.
Yeah.
But it's really easy, a sub $1 million business.
Yeah, I want to point out one thing that you've operated in, and as you've explained this, you've done, again, a great job, but the confidence that you have in this, you've rattled off stats a couple of times. And as a good marketer, I can tell that you are, because you have operated your marketing tactics based on stats. It's, hey, we should do this because it helps increase 25% based on the historical data. And so that's a challenge now in the listener's thought of, oh, I'm not just marketing to market, I'm marketing based on historical data. And so what is some of that data that you're looking at, or that you would suggest that they're looking at in order to kind of come up with these things? I mean, you're talking about putting out a lead magnet. Okay, fine. But like forcing people to go through it generally, because on the back end, it's going to lead to a higher ticket. But how do I get that data to begin with? Or how are you getting it?
Yeah. So, I mean, it comes from, you have to, good in, good out, right? Very simple statement.
Yeah.
Your
tracking.
IT professionals. Yeah. Your IT professionals live and die by that statement. It's maximizing every opportunity. And so our book funnel is name and email first. And then it's, hey, we want to mail this to you because it is 100 plus pages. It's not going to be something that you're going to want to read on a PDF. Let us mail it to you. We'll do it for free. We make that investment and we mail it out. Well, now we have a complete contact record.
Right.
Well, that contact record, there are softwares where you can go and score that address. Does it match up with our demographic, psychographic profiles that we invested in years ago? Does it match up? Well, now that, if it is a ring the bell, yes. Well, now that kicks off another path of marketing.
Yep.
If it doesn't, they go on a different path of marketing.
Right.
Okay.
It's good.
And all of that's pointing to driving them into the store for a visit, because that's where we transact business. We're not an online company. And so that's one way. That might be a little too high tech for some. Here's something we do as well. This is face-to-face, toes-to-toes. We're working with a guest in our store. I urge everybody I work with you have this person captive in front of you. You've just done business. You've established a relationship. It's okay to tactfully, diplomatically ask some questions. Hey, so we're selling you, you're investing in this master bedroom mattress today. Are the mattresses in the rest of the house about the same age? Yeah, they're pretty old. This one was like the newest one, and it's pretty bad. Okay, fantastic. So is that like your kid's bedroom's guest bedroom? In other words, how many more opportunities do we have with you?
Yeah. Today or not today?
Can we send, right. Well, it's not today, but can we send marketing messages tomorrow, next month, next year?
Exactly.
How old are your kids? Well, they're like 7, 8. Oh, wow. So they're getting ready to hit a growth spurt. So that 20-year-old mattress that you're going to give to them, that's yours. Okay, cool. But as they really start to get into those teen years, you might want to consider investing in something a little newer, and that's a little more supportive for them.
Yeah.
And then magically in a couple of years, what starts ramping up?
Yeah.
More marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's opportunity to have right in front of you. Now you can do that old school way. You can do that heavy lift way if you just don't have the finances to go invest in larger technology packages and decks and things like that.
Yeah.
You can do that the old school way, pen and paper. You can put that into an Excel spreadsheet. You can go on Google Forms and create your own form.
That's right.
Where you enter that data in, and it at least manages it for you. So there's a lot of things you can do, but there's so much that people don't do. They just eat today what they kill today.
Yep.
And that's very problematic for a business to go from, doing 300 grand a year to doing $1 million, to doing 3 million, to doing 10 million. Doing those things I just laid out about asking more questions with the buyer in front of you, that's what creates separation. That's what creates new levels of success.
I love all of that. I think we could probably go another few hours on that. You're clearly an expert and have some cool things that are happening in your sales process and marketing process. Hopefully the listener got some notes there. I want to ask a question about family. You've mentioned the family, kind of history a little bit, but I'm going to kind of take it a little different angle. I can tell you're all in on your business. You're all in on your show. You're all in on, my wife's Italian. So just the fact that knowing you're Italian, I already know you're all in. It's either on or off, and the off rarely happens. Okay. And so knowing that about you, how have you been all in on the family as well as the business? Because there's so many times right now that people are talking about balance. And I think it's for the birds. I think obsession is the right word. And we go all in. I choose to be all in on my marriage. I choose to be all in with my kiddos. I choose to be all in on all my businesses all at the same time. How are you doing that?
Yeah. I'm in the same camp as you about finding that balance. Actually, in my book, there's a chapter about it. And if you put the visual in your mind of that, like the scales of justice, right? The
Right.
bronze scale.
Yeah.
When both of those baskets are balanced, what's the meter read? It reads zero.
Yeah.
And I don't want zero of anything. And so for me, it's about when I'm with my family, am I with them? Am I focused? One of the things in my coaching group for Battlefield Alliance, we have a daily battle plan. And one of the daily habits is family time with no screens for an hour. Right now, we're not the greatest at that, but we do try to connect as a family each day, even if it's for 5 minutes without screens. Okay. And that's becoming more difficult. We got a near 20-year-old and a near 16-year-old. Okay. 16-year-old's immersed in football right now. I believe he's a kid that can play Division I college football. So we're on that march. That's how we're all in on family, supporting that journey.
Yeah.
My other son's a career kid. He works at Chick-fil-A. We're supporting him. There's talk of him joining the training team that flies around the nation and opens up new stores.
Very cool.
That's a very cool opportunity for him. So we're supporting that. For my wife, I just love my wife a lot. And I try to show her that each day, usually through laughter. We were at our campsite this weekend. We have a camp trailer that we park at a seasonal site. We were up there Saturday night and a Sunday morning. There wasn't much going on Sunday morning. We didn't need to be anywhere or do anything. We didn't bring the dogs with us. It was just us. And we laughed in bed for probably 2 hours. I just kind of got on a tear and it was just laughing. It was a lot of fun.
It's moments and memories, right?
Try to create those moments, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun for us. And so those kinds of things are where I'm all in on.
I appreciate that perspective and even just the uniqueness or specialty comments on the laughing in the bed. I think that some of those moments, even though I may not ever remember what we were joking about that night, that proverbial night, but those moments where we just were just having joy together, I think is what you're talking about. I think is pretty amazing. I got one last question here for you, Jeff. I want to know if you had the opportunity to whisper in the younger Jeff's ear. What would you tell him?
I would say that the evil that was put upon you, and then I know we're probably nearing the end of our time, but I'll say I'm going to answer the question honestly.
Yeah.
With what I'm feeling called to answer right now. With the evil put upon you is meant for you, and step into the power of it and show others it doesn't have to define you.
True. A lot of power in that. Give us just a quick peel that back, just one layer for us.
Yeah. So I wrote about it in my book. I was a victim of sexual abuse as a child. Very, very rough, very terrible. When you look at the person in the community, a friend of our families who did this, checked all the usual boxes that you would think of predatory behavior. And it was very rough, went on for 5 years. Even after we moved from Canada to the US, he decided to have his family vacations visiting us, and the abuse continued.
Wow.
So I couldn't even, as a kid, 500 miles away, escape it. And I felt very alone, and I didn't understand it. And I didn't understand why this had to happen to me. And now today I've come to a point of realizing that evil, there's 2 statements I'll leave people with, and you're going to have to think on them. And it could be something that gets discussed till the end of time. One is that God will do no harm. And I know that's a hard thing to hear if you're a parent with a kid with cancer.
Yeah.
If you've lost somebody tragically. But I believe that, and I feel I'm okay to say that given my journey. And 2, sometimes the bad things are given to the strongest people. And so for me, what was in that circle of damage and evil and terribleness were other young men. And 2 of them also committed suicide. And so maybe I was put into that position so someone else wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And so now here I am today talking about it and showing others that whatever you're struggling with isn't that past. And I don't want to weigh it out. I don't want to have a contest of who had something worse. That's never something I want to leave someone with. Whatever was terrible for you, it was for you. And I would ask you and challenge you to think about why, and think about what possible power are you being given over it to use it and then to help others and to help others heal. And so that's what I would tell young Jeff as old Jeff today.
Yeah, super powerful. You've spent time not only healing yourself, but you spent time just processing all of that. I appreciate your articulation. I think that you're 100% right. I think that all things are for our good if we can just imagine it that way. It's tough in the mind sometimes to be able to do that, but we have been given the power to do that. So you've been incredible here today. Your journey is so fun. I wish we could have more time here to talk further. I could exploit all of your marketing and your history, but appreciate you being here. How can the listener find you? One, if they're in your area, so tell us exactly where the store is located and how can they buy a mattress.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
if they need the
regional-
software, or if they want to get group coaching, like how can they connect with you?
Yeah. So I do a lot of things. I make it easy on you. Go to thejeffg.com, and that's kind of set up like one of those choose your own adventure novels you read as a kid in school.
I love that.
So yeah, if you're local to the Lancaster, Pennsylvania area, and you want to utilize my team's expertise to help you wake up happy so you're more productive for your day and impactful to those you care about, we service the tri-state area. We get into the South Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and of course, the southeast corner of Pennsylvania. We can go farther and have and do. So we're 830 Plaza Boulevard, Lancaster, Gardner's Mattress and More. That link is on thejeffg.com. If you're an integrator type person, you love leading your team, you like swinging the hammers, so to say, and you need an ally for big ideas. You need an ally to press out of what your business partner, your spouse says you can do, your industry says you can do. You need that visionary. I'm that guy who can turn big ideas into profit and be that person in your corner, right? I like to say I'm the customato to Mike Tyson. I'm the guy that can help you level up and become that heavyweight champ in your industry. And so you can connect with me through thejeffg.com that way. And then if you want coaching for your people, for your team to help solve that clash between work and home, that's what Battlefield Alliance is for. We're in a little bit of a pivot there from what we did do with entrepreneurs to what we do with companies and teams. But that clash between work and home exists, and we can help your management lead those folks that they lead and lead them in a very impactful way and develop a program for you to have success with it.
I love it. Super powerful plays, all three of those. And so I would urge the listener to connect with you. We'll put all that information in the show notes as well. Jeff, I appreciate you being here, giving of your vulnerability, your story, your time, your expertise. Thanks for being here. Blessings to you, your family, all your businesses.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.